Jon Anik defends Belal Muhammad against ducking allegations. Lately, there's been plenty of buzz about who Belal will face in his first title defense after claiming the welterweight belt at UFC 304. Shavkat Rakhmonov, still undefeated, is the obvious top contender, though some think former champ Kamaru Usman deserves to be part of the conversation too. In a recent interview, Rakhmonov revealed that he's already been offered the title shot for UFC 307, scheduled for October 5th in Salt Lake City. Rakhmonov says Belal declined the fight due to the quick turnaround, which makes sense since Muhammad just fought a grueling 5-rounder at the end of July. One of Muhammad's longtime supporters has stepped in to defend him after some fans accuse the champ of avoiding what many see as a tough challenge ahead. Jon Anik says that Belal Muhammad isn't ducking Shavkat Rakhmonov, explains his motivation behind potential Usman fight. Anik said, for his legacy, not at all surprising, Belal Muhammad would want the chance to defend his title against one of the all-time welterweight greats in Kamaru Usman. But the notion he is somehow trying to sidestep Shavkat Rakhmonov is straight fake news. Shavkat Rakhmonov is 18 and 0 with 18 finishes, 6-0 in the UFC. Whether he has the number 3 or number 1 ranking matters not. Most of us see him as the largely unquestioned rightful next title challenger, and I think the UFC concurs. But the champion ain't the problem. Trust. Michael Bisping cautions Alex Pereira, tells him not to overlook the kickboxer killer Khalil Rountree, advising him not to underestimate the serious threat Rountree poses in their upcoming fight. Pereira is gearing up for his third light heavyweight title defense in 2024, where he'll face the ruthless Muay Thai fighter in the main event of UFC 307, set for October 5th. In a recent video on his YouTube channel, Michael Bisping shared his thoughts on Alex Pereira's call-out of UFC middleweight champ Dricus du Plessis. Bisping was quick to remind Pereira that he faces a more pressing challenge in Khalil Rountree, a fighter he can't afford to underestimate. He's the light heavyweight champion of the world. Bisping said, being the light heavyweight champion comes with some responsibility. Now, as I said, first and foremost, number 1, he's got people to fight already. He's fighting Khalil Rountree. You cannot look past Killer Rountree. He's the kickboxer killer. He really is. Think about this. He beat Gokhan Saki, a very good kickboxer who transitioned to MMA, and Dustin Jacoby, another excellent glory kickboxer who moved to MMA. Could he do the same to Alex Pereira? I don't know. It's a tough ask. Widely regarded as one of the most dangerous strikers in MMA, Pereira's legacy as a 2-division glory kickboxing champion strikes fear into opponents. While conventional wisdom suggests that wrestling is the blueprint to topple him, Rountree sees things differently. Not look past Killer Rountree. He's the kickboxer killer. He really is. Think about this. He beat Gokhan Saki, a very good kickboxer who transitioned to MMA, and Dustin Jacoby, another excellent glory kickboxer who moved to MMA. Could he do the same to Alex Pereira? I don't know. It's a tough ask. Widely regarded as one of the most dangerous strikers in MMA, Pereira's legacy as a 2-division glory kickboxing champion strikes fear into opponents. While conventional wisdom suggests that wrestling is the blueprint to topple him, Rountree sees things differently. Dana White responds to Joe Rogan's comments on Dana being obsessed with Jon Jones. In a recent podcast appearance, Rogan weighed in on the GOAT debate, saying there are other factors to consider when naming the greatest. He pointed out Jones' split decision win against Thiago Santos and his razor-close fight with Dominic Reyes, which many believed Reyes actually won. If you haven't seen that video yet, you can check it out on our channel. Earlier today, Dana White held an Instagram Live where he responded to Joe's comments. Listen, there's no debate. Jon Jones is the GOAT. Jon Jones is the greatest ever to do it. There's no debate about it. If you look at what the guy has accomplished and what he was doing while he accomplished these things, the greatest thing about him is that he never lost a fight. You can say, oh, he beat him or someone else beat him. No one beat him. The 3 people who matter say he never lost. Gilbert Burns wants Belal to be the champion when he gets to fight for the title. I want Belal to stay champion when I fight for the title, you know? That's my goal, and then get the rematch for the title. That would be great. So I'm Team Belal Muhammad. I want this guy to keep winning, and then whenever I'm there, that's the guy that I'm facing. Burns talked about how the UFC welterweight division has changed since Kamaru Usman's dominant run ended. He praised Belal Muhammad for wanting to fight Shavkat Rakhmonov instead of Usman, who has now lost 3 UFC fights in a row. I like that Belal is being a good champion. He said he wants to fight, fight, face the #1 contender guys before thinking on moving up or fighting another champion. That was my go-to, you know. Go over there, beat the #1 fighters, keep beating these guys, and especially he needs to make that fan base. He needs to make the fans excited. He's doing a great job right now the way he talks, and I think he's going to be a great champion. Burns fully supports Muhammad staying as champ for at least a year or two because he's been saying all the right things and is focused on giving contenders their chances. Naturally, Burns would love to fight Muhammad again at his best and finally win a UFC belt for himself. Michael Bisping makes the case for Conor McGregor's spot on MMA Mount Rushmore. One of the biggest debates among MMA fans is who the greatest fighters of all time are. Even though mixed martial arts is still a relatively new sport, choosing just 4 fighters to represent MMA on a Mount Rushmore is tough. That's exactly what former UFC middleweight champ Michael Bisping tried to figure out in a recent episode of his Believe You Me podcast. Of course, all the usual names were thrown into the mix, like Jon Jones, George St. Pierre, and Royce Gracie, but one big omission throws a major additional factor into the debate. Whilst he may not have the same strength of resume or longevity as some of the other names in consideration, MMA would not be what it is today without the Notorious. Bisping made the case for why Conor McGregor has to be spoken about as someone that has earned his spot on the sport's 4 figureheads. The first fighter to hold 2 UFC belts at once, known as the Champ, made a huge impact. This fighter brought in a lot of money and attention to the sport. Bisping said, "What about this point of view? Let's remember the sport's only 30 years old. Let's look at this in 100 years time from now. Who will be the name that's really stood out? You cannot deny the impact that McGregor had on this sport and bringing it to the next level, and you know, I'm the last person to sit here and fluff him up, but you can't deny that. You just can't." While McGregor's career has been incredibly exciting and influential, his overall legacy does not match up to some of the all-time greats like GSP, who dominated multiple weight classes over a long period, or Anderson Silva, who had an unparalleled title reign. Critics might also point to McGregor's recent performances and lack of consistent dominance compared to other legends. So while McGregor has made a massive mark on the sport, whether he belongs on the Mount Rushmore alongside other legends is up for debate. If you had to create your own personal Mount Rushmore of UFC fighters, who would make the cut? The 4 fighters who have made the biggest impact, or who you think are the greatest in UFC history. For example, apart from obvious answers, would you include legends like Khabib Nurmagomedov, Fedor Emelianenko, and Jose Aldo? And we have to mention Jon Jones one more fucking time, or Dana will go on another rant in the comments section. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to subscribe for daily MMA news.